There's a silence that creeps in, not suddenly but gradually, like a fog rolling over familiar ground. You wake up and the phone doesn't ring. The mailbox is empty. The house is still. And though the world outside hums with life, inside, there's a quiet ache. Loneliness in older age isn't always loud. Sometimes it whispers through empty chairs at dinner, through birthdays that go unnoticed, through memories that have no one left to share them with. It's a deeply human experience, it's yet so often hidden behind polite smiles and I'm fines. According to the National Academies of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine, nearly 1 in 3 adults over 60 experiences significant loneliness. And this isn't just a matter of sadness. Chronic loneliness can raise the risk of heart disease, depression, cognitive decline, and even early death. In fact, researchers have found it can be as harmful as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. But let's be clear, this isn't the story of endings. It's the beginning of something different. Because even in the most isolated corners of life, there is hope. And connection is never out of reach. It just sometimes needs to be rekindled in unexpected ways. If you've ever felt invisible in a crowd, if you've ever wondered, does anyone still truly know me? This video is for you. Not to dwell in the loneliness, but to gently walk out of it. Together, we'll explore 5 heartfelt ways to reconnect with others, with purpose, and most importantly, with yourself. You are not forgotten. You are not alone. And the path back to joy might begin right here. Hello, dear friend. Welcome to Comfort Corner, a gentle place where your heart is held, your thoughts are honored, and your journey through life's later chapters is treated with the care it deserves. I'm Michael, and I'll be your guide today. Not as an expert looking down, but as someone walking beside you, with warmth, with stories, and with the quiet understanding that comes from living. Here at Comfort Corner, we speak to the soul of growing older. We honor the beauty in slowing down, the strength in vulnerability, and the wisdom that comes not from perfection, but from persistence. Our mission is simple: to bring comfort, connection, and clarity to those navigating life after 60. Whether we're talking about health, relationships, purpose, or simply making peace with change, this is your space. A place where your experience matters, where you are seen. If what we share here brings you comfort or sparks reflection, I gently invite you to subscribe. Leave a comment, even just to say hello, and let us know you're out there. And if there's someone in your life who could use a little warmth today, consider sharing this video with them. These small gestures ripple outward in powerful ways. So let's take this time together. Let's talk about loneliness, not as a sentence, but as a season that can pass. And let's discover slowly and kindly how to return to connection, one step and one story at a time. Because you, my friend, are worth being heard. You always have been. Loneliness doesn't always stem from a lack of people. It often grows in the spaces where we stop seeing and being seen. And sometimes the remedy isn't grand gestures or deep conversations. Sometimes it's simply in saying hello to the same barista each morning. In exchanging a smile with the woman who walks her dog past your porch. In letting your eyes meet a stranger's just long enough to remind yourself you exist and they see you. These small, seemingly insignificant moments hold surprising emotional weight. Psychologists call them weak ties, the fleeting, casual interactions we have with acquaintances or strangers. A 2014 study published in the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships found that people who had more of these daily micro-interactions reported higher levels of happiness and lower feelings of loneliness, even if those connections weren't deep. For older adults, especially those who live alone, these moments can form a kind of emotional scaffolding, tiny connections that, together, hold up the architecture of belonging. A brief chat with a neighbor. A nod to the mail carrier, a shared laugh at the grocery checkout line. These are not trivial. They are touch points that remind the soul it's not drifting in solitude. Routines help too. Walking the same path at the same time each day increases the chances of running into the same people. Shopping at the same store on the same day lets familiarity build naturally. You don't have to initiate deep connection from scratch. It often blossoms from repetition and proximity. Even when words aren't exchanged, just being around people, in a park, at a coffee shop, in the library, can create what researchers call ambient belonging. It's the subtle but powerful feeling of being part of a shared human rhythm. And if mobility is a challenge, consider calling the same friend each morning just to check in. It doesn't have to be a long conversation. Even a 5-minute ritual of connection can anchor the day in warmth and meaning. The truth is, connection isn't always about who we spend holidays with. Sometimes it's built in the quiet accumulation of kind nods, casual greetings, and gentle routines that say, I'm here. You're here. And in this ordinary moment, we are not alone. There was a time when connection meant knocking on a neighbor's door or waiting for the mail to arrive. But today, the world has extended itself into the glow of a screen. And while that may feel foreign or even overwhelming, for older adults, it holds quiet potential. Not to replace real-life moments, but to bridge the distance when physical presence isn't possible. Too often, technology is painted as the domain of the young. But research tells a different story. According to a 2022 Pew Research Center study, over 75% of adults over 65 now use the internet, and more than half own a smartphone. What's more, seniors who use digital tools to stay in touch, be it through video calls, group chats, or even social media, report lower levels of loneliness and higher life satisfaction, as highlighted in studies from the Journal of Gerontology and Harvard Health. Still, embracing technology isn't about mastering every app or trend. It's about finding one or two tools that feel manageable and meaningful. Maybe it's FaceTime with your grandchildren on Sunday afternoons. Maybe it's a weekly Zoom book club or sending voice messages to an old friend across the country. The point isn't perfection, it's presence. If you're unsure where to begin, know this. You don't have to do it alone. Organizations like AARP offer free online and phone-based tech tutoring just for seniors. Local libraries often hold small group classes. Even your internet provider may offer senior-friendly training programs. It's not about becoming tech-savvy overnight. It's about learning slowly with support at your own pace. Technology can also open doors to new forms of community. Facebook groups tailored to widows, veterans, caregivers, or hobbyists allow connection based on shared experiences. Websites like Nextdoor help you find nearby neighbors. Apps like Magnolia or Papa connect seniors with friendly, verified companions for both virtual and in-person visits. Of course, no screen can replace a warm hug or a hand to hold. But for those in-between days, for the quiet evenings and long mornings, technology can be a lifeline. A reminder that your world is still full of people who care, even if they're not in the room. You deserve connection that adapts with time, not fades with it. In this digital age, learning something new is not a burden. It's an act of courage. Every tap, every message, every video call is a thread gently pulling you back into the tapestry of belonging. There is a quiet dignity in being needed, a sense that your presence still matters, your hands still have purpose, and your heart still has more to give. For many older adults facing the ache of loneliness, it's not just the absence of people, it's the absence of meaning that weighs the heaviest. But what if the very act of reaching outward could begin the healing within? Volunteering may seem like a small gesture. A few hours helping at a food pantry, reading to children at the library, or knitting blankets for a hospital, but these acts ripple far beyond their surface. In giving time, energy, and care, older adults rediscover a vital truth. They are still deeply valuable. According to a long-term study published by the Mayo Clinic, seniors who volunteer regularly report lower rates of depression, increased feelings of well-being, and even improved physical health, including reduced blood pressure and greater mobility. Similarly, Harvard Health notes that purposeful engagement through volunteering can delay cognitive decline and prolong life expectancy, not because of the work itself, but because meaning acts as a powerful balm for both brain and body. But perhaps more important than the statistics is the emotional shift that happens when we feel useful again. Helping others pulls us out of our own spiraling thoughts. It lifts our eyes from our own suffering and places us in the presence of shared humanity. And in that space of kindness exchanged without expectation, loneliness begins to loosen its grip. You don't have to join a large organization to make a difference. Sometimes purpose is found in babysitting a neighbor's child, calling someone you know who's grieving, or offering to write letters to veterans. Even making care packages, cooking a warm meal for someone, or tending a community garden can become sacred acts of connection. Local community centers, faith groups, and libraries often post volunteer opportunities geared toward older adults. Websites like volunteermatch.org or createthegood.org make it easy to find causes near you, tailored to your skills and physical abilities. And let's be honest, stepping into a new space can feel intimidating. You might wonder, will they think I'm too old, too slow, out of touch? But what you offer is more than help. You offer wisdom, patience, gentleness, and the kind of quiet strength that comes only with age. That is not just welcomed, it is deeply needed in this world. In the act of giving, you will find that the loneliness that once echoed in your chest begins to be replaced by a soft, steady warmth, the kind that says, I am part of something. I am connected. I am still becoming. There are names we haven't said out loud in years. Faces that once brought joy, laughter, or even pain, but linger still like faded photographs tucked in the corners of memory. Sometimes, loneliness isn't just the absence of new connections, it's the ache of old ones that slipped away. But what if part of healing isn't only reaching forward, but also gently reaching back? Reconnecting with old friends, estranged family members, or even former neighbors is a powerful yet often overlooked antidote to loneliness. These people knew you before life changed, before the gray hairs, before the losses, before the quiet mornings. And in reaching out, you don't just reclaim connection, you recover parts of yourself. Psychologists have long studied the impact of nostalgia, and the findings are striking. A study published in Social and Personality Psychology, Compass, found that revisiting past relationships and shared memories can increase feelings of belonging, self-continuity, and emotional warmth. In other words, remembering where we've been helps us remember who we are. But reconnection doesn't mean reopening wounds or forcing closeness where it's no longer safe. It means choosing, carefully, lovingly, the people whose presence once added meaning to your life. Perhaps it's an old college friend, a sibling you haven't spoken to in years, a former coworker whose laughter you still remember. Sometimes just one message, a short letter, a voicemail, a thinking of you card, is enough to reopen a door. And it's okay to feel nervous. Reaching out takes courage. We fear rejection, silence, or reopening the past. But more often than not, people are grateful. They too are carrying memories. They too have wondered about you. They too are waiting for someone to make the first move. If it feels too big to contact someone personally, start with your own story. Write your memories down. Look through old photos. Tell someone close to you about a friend you miss. These small acts help you reconnect with your inner narrative and may even prompt that next brave step. Sometimes the past holds more than regret. It holds reminders of love, resilience, and connection. And while not every bond can or should be rebuilt, some still flicker, waiting only for a little breath to glow again. Because it's never too late to say, I was thinking of you. Never too late to be remembered or to remember someone else. There is a quiet bravery in beginning again, in walking into a room where no one knows your name, in sitting among strangers with an open heart and a flicker of hope. For many older adults, loneliness persists, not because connection is impossible, but because new beginnings feel daunting. Yet within every community group, every local class, every shared circle of faith or fellowship, there are stories waiting to meet yours. Human beings are wired for belonging, and community is the container that holds us through change, through grief, through transformation. Research from the National Academies of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine, NASM, found that older adults who regularly engage in social groups, educational classes, or faith-based gatherings experience lower levels of loneliness, depression, and cognitive decline. These aren't just feel-good activities, they are lifelines. So where do you start? Look close to home. Senior centers often offer weekly meetups, hobby groups, and gentle exercise classes. Libraries host book clubs and free workshops. Community colleges run lifelong learning courses tailored specifically for older learners. No grades, no pressure, just shared discovery. Faith communities, too, provide more than just spiritual nourishment. They offer potlucks, choir groups, prayer circles, and volunteer ministries, places where presence matters more than perfection. You don't have to share every belief to find belonging. Sometimes it's enough just to show up. And then there are smaller, more intimate spaces, gardening clubs, quilting circles, walking groups, writing workshops, or even a weekly coffee meetup at the local cafe. These aren't just activities, they're invitations to be part of something, to contribute, to be witnessed. Yes, the first steps may feel uncertain. You might ask, will I fit in? Will I be welcome? But more often than not, others in those rooms are asking the same thing. You are not alone in your loneliness. And when people gather in shared vulnerability, connection blooms in the unlikeliest places. If transportation is an issue, many communities offer rides for seniors. And if leaving the house is not feasible, there are still online discussion circles, remote classes, and faith services that bring people together through a screen. Real community, even if virtual. What matters most is not how many people you meet, but how deeply you allow yourself to show up, as you are, in your season of life, with your story. Because there is something sacred about building something new, not as a replacement for what was lost, but as an act of honoring who you still are. Open, evolving, capable of connection. The chapters ahead are not empty, they are unwritten, and there are people, perhaps just around the corner, waiting for the joy of knowing you. Loneliness, especially in our later years, can feel like a slow, invisible weight, one that settles quietly but deeply. But the truth we must hold close is this. Connection is still possible, joy is still possible, and each small step we take toward others is a step back toward ourselves. We began with the power of small, daily interactions, the smiles, the nods, the gentle acknowledgments that remind us we still belong to the world. Then we explored the courage of embracing technology, not as a replacement for presence, but as a bridge, a way to see, hear, and be heard when distance stands in the way. We spoke of volunteering, not only to give, but to feel deeply needed once again. We looked at the tender strength it takes to reconnect with old friends or family, gently reopening doors that time or hurt may have closed. And finally, we turned toward new beginnings, joining community circles, classes, or spiritual groups that offer not just activity, but shared humanity. These are not drastic changes. These are small, sacred choices. You don't have to do them all at once. In fact, you don't even have to do them perfectly. Just start with one. Maybe tomorrow you take a short walk and greet a neighbor. Maybe you call an old friend. Maybe you ask someone to help you set up a video call, or you stop by a local gathering just to observe. Each tiny act is a stitch in the fabric of belonging. And slowly, steadily, that fabric becomes strong enough to hold you again. Loneliness is real, but it is not your forever. Connection is waiting, and so is the life you still deserve to live, fully and freely. If this message found you in a quiet moment, Perhaps with a heavy heart or a longing for connection, know this: you are not forgotten and you are not alone. The ache of loneliness is not a sign of weakness, but of how deeply human you are. It means you still long for love, for laughter, for the simple magic of being seen. And that longing is something to honor. There is no shame in feeling isolated. Life has a way of shifting around us. Friends move, partners pass, families grow distant, and suddenly we find ourselves adrift. But within you is the courage to reach again, to begin again. Whether with a kind stranger, a distant friend, a shared smile in a community circle, or even through the glow of a video call, you can still belong. If this video offered you comfort or sparked a thought, I gently invite you to take one step today toward connection. And if you found it meaningful, please consider sharing it with someone you care about. It may be the lifeline they didn't know they needed. Let's create a world where no elder feels invisible, where your story is heard, where your presence still ripples outward in gentle, powerful ways. I'm Michael from Comfort Corner, wishing you peace, health, and a heart full of hope.